So friends, let's talk about the 5 ingredients of an agent. So in last lecture actually we studied about like what is agentic AI, and now we will study about like what ingredients make up an agent, or what are the 5 basic processes that together makes an agent. So what is inside that wrapper? So in last video we mentioned that uh, agent is more of a wrapper, and it is made up of ingredients. And the thing is that if we miss any of the that ingredient that makes up an agent, it is actually not called an agent. So let's talk about what are the those 5 ingredients. So first is a goal, a plan, tool, a feedback loop, and autonomy. So goal is basically as simple it sounds, an outcome to pursue. We just tell the agent that this is the goal we want to achieve, and this is something that decides whether the work is completed or not. A plan is basically like a plan to reach a goal. So this is something it goes in steps. So there is a goal to achieve, but there is a plan to achieve that goal. Now comes the tools. So tool is something that helps us meet those plans. So for example, I will take an example in the upcoming slide and explain how these ingredients work. Another is the feedback loop, like it learns from the result. And another is the autonomy, like the power to decide based on the feedback loop and keep this process running in a cyclic manner. So the thing is that if we remove any of this, so we cannot say that it's an agent. Maybe it's something that is more like it, but a complete agent must have to have at least these 5 components. So a goal is basically something you point at. The agent needs to pursue it. It's not just a simple question. You define what success looks like, agent works out, and it decides how to get there. The target is outcome that may take many steps. So it's something that's not just you tell the agent to do, and it just does it out of nowhere. It has to plan it. It has to plan the steps to reach it. So goal is the starting step for that process to happen. So just an example, plan a 3-day Tokyo trip under $2,000 is a goal, whereas suggest a Tokyo hotel is just a question. Because understand this, because to plan a trip actually in real time, agent has to check the flight tickets, has to check the reviews online, and it has to be on real data. Maybe it even calls some API to book an actual ticket, whereas suggesting a hotel is an answer that we get from LLM, who is trained on the data of the already available hotels that are there at that time when the model was trained. So it's a big difference. So plan to get there. So the agent decides what to do first, next, and in what sequence. It can replan, fly when something changes, or a step fails. Without planning it fails or does one step and stop. So planning is very important. It decides the steps. For example, again a trip, what could be the steps, something that someone will do manually do on the internet. These are the steps that LLM also will suggest or plan. For example, research flights, compare the hotel prices, check the dates, and especially all this within the limitation or constraint that it should not be above $2,000. So tools to act. So now we have plan like what we are going to do, but now we need the actual tools that could do something. For example, an API, a platform from where we can call the API, something where we can write code and execute that API. So search the web, run the code, call APIs, read write for files. These are the tools to act upon. Tools are what connect the brain to the real world. Without them, it can only talk about actions, never take them. It looks up live flight prices by actually searching instead of guessing from memory. So that's the part of the tool. It is the tool that will take this action. A feedback loop. It looks at each results and adapts. So it's very obvious. So what happens is it does one, it completes one step in the plan, and when it gets the feedback, for example, it searches for flight, it gets the flight results, then it has to analyze like whether these flight results are within the dates, maybe in the next week, or what is the specified in the prompt, does it match. So this is kind of feedback or observation that it is making on the results. So it uses what it sees to fix mistakes, choose the next move. Without feedback, one failure derails the whole task. So if there is no feedback, the thing is that suppose there is any issue, you didn't get flight results correctly, you didn't get flight results back at all, then what will it do? It will break because it doesn't know how to take that result or how to take action on that feedback. So because there is no feedback. So for example, what happens is that let me just, yeah, so for example, it does the flight search and it widens the date and tries again. So if it doesn't find the flight data, it will retry with more dates. Autonomy to keep things going. So the thing is that it has to have a decision making power, right? We cannot interrupt at every step. We may find it, useful, or when we are doing it for the first time, that maybe it doesn't book a wrong flight, but it has to have some level of autonomy in deciding what to do next, and that's critical. It keeps cycling toward goal until it is done or hits a set limit. More autonomy isn't always better. Limits and guardrails matter, of course, because suppose there is a time limit, you cannot let your agent to be working on a task for 2 hours, because then it means that there is something wrong with it and it is maybe burning your tokens. So has to be some guardrail. But yeah, there is a good, there needs to be a balance between how much decision it can take for itself and where you need to step in. So you hand off the trip, step away, it works through the whole plan on its own. 5 ingredients, one loop. So they work in cycle with autonomy. So if you remove something, this is what happens. So no goal, it will wander. Without goal, it doesn't know what to do. There is no plan, it's chaos. It doesn't know how to reach the goal. No tools, then it cannot perform the action. It can just suggest but cannot achieve something. No feedback, then there is nothing to, there is nothing to improvise if there is no feedback. Or no autonomy, you are the one driving. So if you decide on behalf of agent every time, then it's you who are making decision, not the agent. So remember these 5 ingredients, and they are very critical for any agent creation. So next I will try to talk more about the agentic spectrum. Thanks.